Well, there you go. That's Tottenham for you, isn't it? 4-0 victory on the back of what has been two fairly disappointing displays in the Premier League. That's what we're talking about tonight. So welcome back to Speaking Spurs with me, Kieran, talking all things Tottenham. And yeah, it's just strange, isn't it? We get a draw, which was a decent result in the grander scheme of things against Brentford, but a very poor display. A 2-0 loss against Villa that we were looking for a reaction from, and then we go and hammer Palace 4-0. So to use the sporting cliche, it's a game of two halves. It was for us, as it quite often is this season. Conte, as I said, looking for the reaction after the draw against Brentford and lost to Villa after our restart from the World Cup. We were run pretty ragged by an impressive Palace in the opening 45 minutes, who themselves had to atone for their abysmal 3-0 defeat to Fulham in their last home outing. But often that's the story for Palace. They failed to take their chances, and then our quality started to shine through in the second half. Kane making his 300th Premier League appearance, nodded us home after 48 minutes. He then swept home his seconds 5 minutes later. That takes him to within 2 goals of Jimmy Greaves' all-time scoring record for Tottenham at 266 goals. What's more impressive about this 300th appearance for Kane is he is now just the second Premier League player to score in his 100th, 200th and 300th appearance. Any of you know the other person that managed to do that? Former Tottenham Hotspur striker Teddy Sheringham. And then Sonny as well. There's been a lot of pressure on him. He continued to struggle in the first half, to be honest. He got his goal. He thought he had an assist, but it actually took a deflection off of Nathaniel Klein. It wasn't even a ball intended for Doherty. If you watch it back, he was trying to play that ball into Kane in between the defenders, but it took the deflection. So Matt Doherty got his goal on the 68th minute. Deserved for him. I think he had a good mid-season break during the International World Cup, scoring his 3 goals, getting some assists. So it's nice to see him contributing in the Premier League. But Sonny did get his goal after his 8-game barren run in the Premier League in the 72nd minute. Kind of linking up with striker Harry Kane. Harry Kane put the lofted ball over the top that was poorly defended, and then Sonny managed to get the volley, rounded off an excellent evening for us. Sonny was speaking to, I think it was Sky Sports after the game, and he said about his goal, about time. It felt amazing, to be honest. I felt really sorry for the team because I think they were expecting more than what I've done. I hope today was the turning point, getting back the confidence, and I will continue to help the team. It was evident after he scored the goal. You saw him, he was running, he took off his mask, he threw it, but it was the reaction of the players around him. Look, Sonny is a very much loved guy, not just around the club, around the world. I was at a rehearsal tonight for the show that I'm in, and the guy sitting next to me watching the game, he's an Arsenal fan, and even he said, as much as I hate Tottenham Hotspur, you can't dislike Sonny. He's just such a nice guy. He did mention that Sonny loves to do a little bit of he called him a bit of a diver at times, but he said, look, as a person, Sonny, you can't dislike him, and it's true. Conte's reaction on the sideline was just great. So the result tonight takes us within 2 points of 4th spot. We have played more games than the teams around us, which doesn't help us. But look, it's a step in the right direction in terms of result, especially when we got a lot of key players missing. So Kulusevski still wasn't back in action. We know about Richarlison. Dyer was brought back into the lineup for this one. Lucas Moura still out. Bazuma suspended. Bentancur still out. So do you know what? Looking at it, it was a pretty good result. So even though I feel, for Palace, even though it was an improved performance on their Fulham defeat, they've now lost 2 successive Premier League games and they drop into 12th place. So if we talk a bit about things that Conte has said, and it's been a bit of a weird one. He said a lot in the last couple of days. He was talking to Sky Sports and said it was a good reaction after the loss at Villa to win away at Palace. We're talking about a good team, well organised. After the first half was imbalanced, in the second half we exploited chances to score, and then we finished with a good result. It's really important because we got 3 points. It's important we continue to stay very close for a good position, and by that he means the top 4. When you don't win, you risk putting the confidence of the team down. Don't forget last season we lost here 3-0. It's not easy. It means we played well, and I'm happy. I'm happy because we used many young players. This is important for the present and also the future. He added, the message was, because it was a bit of a tepid first half to display from us. So he obviously had to talk to him at half time. He praised the bravery and the character of the players in the wake of criticism in recent weeks. So he went on to say the message was to continue to play because we started the game very well. Then I think in the second part of the first half we lost a bit of control and possession. I said to the team that it was really, really important to continue to play with the ball and find space to attack. I think it was good. We played a good game. We were well organised without the ball, and to press high and recover the ball. This team always shows great character. I think only in the last game against Aston Villa that we didn't. Maybe this was the only game we didn't have a strong reaction. Otherwise, we show in every game great character. Which, yes, us as Spurs fans, we know that is the case. We do show good character. Unfortunately, it's in the second half, which is what frustrates us so much. And then it was, again, a second half performance that got us through the game and got us the victory. Other things that he has said. Talking about Harry Kane, he was asked questions and he said, I don't want to speak about Harry because we waste time talking about the type of player he is. I repeat, we're all talking about a really world-class striker, and he's going to beat that record with the goals. For us, he's an important point of reference, especially with Hugo, our captain, especially in the moments Harry is there ready to fight and solve the situation with the goals and assists. We have to continue in this way and face every situation, negative and positive, with great character. I hope soon we can have the whole squad available, and that will be very important to face Arsenal and Manchester City with all our players, and we can see our true level. So that's a reference to the fact that, again, just letting us know that we've got injury problems and they are hampering the way our season's going, because, as has been mentioned, we haven't quite got the depth that we need of that top level. The substitutes, we can see they're not at the same level as the starting 11. He's just hinting at that once again. A small hint, but still a hint. Talking about Bryan Hill, he said it was important. We're talking about a player born to play football. He understands football so quickly. He's so clever. The league is so difficult. Quality, you have to be fast and have endurance. He has that. And you also have to be strong physically. Gill, since last season, has improved on that aspect. I only say Gill, I know it's Hill, but he pronounced it Gill, so don't have a pop at me there. I compared him to Bernardo Barno. Let me start again. I compared him to Barno. What's wrong with me words tonight? I compared him to Bernardo Silva of Manchester City because, in my opinion, they are really similar. He has to continue to work on the physical aspect because he has great quality. And I think from the start, he's always said that he likes Bryan Hill as a player, thinks he's very good technical ability and all that. He's just always alluded to the fact that he needs to work on his strength. But, the guy worked hard tonight. He also said that he got a good answer from the other young players, Skippy, Pat Matassar, and then he commented once again on Sessegnon being young, Emerson being 23. He said, to see that you can count on them makes me happy. Also, it's important because we can create competition. By that, he means competition for places. So let's talk about the players. The lineup, Hugo Lloris in goal, Christian Romero on the right of the back three, Eric Dyer slotting back into the middle of the defence, and Longley staying in the squad as well above Davies. Then we had Doherty retained his position on the right wing back role, with Perisic staying on the left. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg stays in the centre, this time partnered by Oliver Skipp in the suspension of Bizuma and the injury of Bentancur. And then you have the front three, the same as the last game. Bryan Hill on the right, Harry Kane in the middle, and Sonny on the left. So if we talk about their performances, Hugo Lloris, obviously Not a great performance in the last game. It was him that kind of was the reason for the first goal. And despite the criticism that some of us have been given that he is making more mistakes as he gets older, 36 years old now, do we need to replace him? Still, I would say we do. But he came out fighting and made sure he fought tooth and nail, for that clean sheet that he got tonight. So he made a low save from Ayew before the half-hour mark. A terrific flying fingertip save to deny Ayew again in the second half before getting his feet to a Zaha effort as he ran through on goal. All of our key players stepped up in this game, Lloris included, with 3 crucially timed big saves, and he deserves a lot of credit for his performance tonight, especially on the back of a World Cup loss and then what happened in the last game. So it was nice to see him bounce back. Romero, dominant presence on the right of the back 3, and there, we kept our first clean sheet in months. And then completely forgot to say that, this is the first time we haven't conceded first in 10 games, and we didn't concede at all. So, hurrah. Dyer back in the squad in the middle after his 1 game rest. He put in a decent shift in the centre. Nothing much else to say, to be honest. Longley mopped up most of what came his way down the left-hand side of the pitch. Pretty much like you would expect if Davies was in there. Matt Doherty, he worked hard down the right. He got his reward as he stroked home a left-footed shot for Tottenham's 3rd goal. Wasn't the cleanest of strikes, it wasn't right in the corner, but there was enough power on it to take it past the goalkeeper. And to be fair, he reacted well because the ball wasn't intended for him, it was a deflection. So, yeah, I thought he worked quite well. Oliver Skipp in the middle next to Højbjerg. It was a tough first half for him. I mean, there was rustiness there. You can tell it was a player that hasn't had much game time this season, so you can forgive it. Outside of Højbjerg and Bentancur, the only other person to really get any game time has been Bazuma. So, for Skippy, you can understand it. He did pick up a yellow card before the break for a late lunge after, it wasn't really his fault. It was a poor Perisic pass. But he picked up in the second half before coming off on 65 minutes for Sarr. Højbjerg had a pretty shaky first half as well, but you can forgive it to an extent because he was alongside Skip. So both ways, that partnership, had reasons for being a bit shaky. But he also improved as the game wore on, as he usually does. Then Perisic on the left, he kept looking to probe with balls in from the left, and he picked out Harry Kane for a headed home goal in the second half. Bryan Hill, let's talk about him. He started brightly, curled a shot at the keeper early on. He had a couple of moments when he was knocked off the ball, and that's the physical side of the game that Conte keeps talking about. But came out flying in the second half in a really, really good way. He swept the ball out to Perisic in the build-up to Kane's first goal, so he was imperative in that movement. It was a lovely weighted pass, actually, just for Perisic to run right onto. And then he set up Kane for the second goal. Kane actually put a really clever point in to tell him exactly where he wanted it. He then threaded it, Hill threaded it through the 2 defenders for Kane to sweep home for the second one. He was also involved in the 4th goal. He was touching the ball off to Kane in the build-up. So it was a big impact for the little Spaniard. Really happy for him because we haven't seen a lot of him in the Spurs shirt. Mainly because of the physical aspect, but there is a good player in there. He's not up to the standard that we quite need at the moment, but the only way he's going to get it is with game time. So, all round, really happy with that tonight. Harry Kane, quiet in the first half, as so many of our players are, but then came alive in the second. He nodded home the header at the back post. Then the clinical shot, as Kane does. It's just a one-touch bang across goal. We've seen that so many times. That was a carbon copy of a typical Harry Kane goal. He then put through Son in the build-up to Doherty's goal, and then put the lobbed pass over for Sonny to eventually score from for the 4th. And the best part about this game is he avoided a yellow card that would have kept him out of the North London derby. And as we said before, he's now just 2 goals off Jimmy Greaves' record for Spurs. And then the last of the starters, Sonny. It did start to look like it was going to be another frustrating evening for the South Korean. He looked off the pace at times, much of the game, to be honest. However, he was left roaring with delight when he outmuscled his marker and then fired home a deflected shot from Kane's lobbed pass. He was also involved, as we said, in Doherty's goal, although it wasn't intended for Doherty. Lacking in confidence to begin with, but hopefully that goal brings everything back after what was a fantastic season last season. Then talking about the subs that appeared, Pat Matassar had another bright cameo from the bench. Really pleased for him. He replaced Skippy on 66 minutes. He looked calm and composed in what was his second Premier League game. Made an important interception late on to stop Edouard running through and preserve our clean sheet. Sessegnon, he came on for the final 12 minutes and added just a little bit of fresh legs and energy. Royale came on to give Doherty a breather on the right. And what was really nice to see, and Conte's not known for being great with the youngsters. It was a bit different during the World Cup because he had to play him. But Harvey White coming on, big moment for the Spurs Academy product that has been really consistent for all the youth sides. Instrumental in the friendlies during the international break, making his Premier League debut late on in the game. So lovely moment for him. Good to see. Happy about that one. And that will do Conte a few little favours, I suppose, and keep a couple of fans a little bit happier. And then Ben Davies as well. He came on late to replace Clement Longley. So all round, a good evening for Spurs. It's exactly what we needed. We needed our big players to show some passion and work hard, and they did. Harry Kane 2 goals, Sonny finally getting a goal, Lloris making big saves. So the three players that kind of haven't been at it recently put in really good performances. Eric Dyer, after his one game rest, it was nice for him to come in and keep a clean sheet. Longley, this would have helped give him a little bit of confidence, knowing that he's been second fiddle to Ben Davies for much of the season. Brian Hill, this will do him the world of good. Skip, it'll be good for him to get some minutes under his belt as well. What else? Yeah, that's pretty much in terms of the starters, everything that needed to happen for them. I think when our big players step up, you can tell it filters through the rest of the players. It lifts their heads. Yeah, really happy with that. Hopefully we can kick on and get a decent result in the Cup against Portsmouth in front of a sellout crowd. That'll be nice. It'll be interesting to see who's available for that game and who he plays. I wonder if some of the other guys are back, if he'll bring them off the bench, because we have got some massive games coming up in the Premier League. So if we can get a couple of them some minutes, that'd be fantastic. Now, I did want to talk a little bit about Conte. Some of you left some fantastic comments on the last video. I've replied to a few of you on that about it. I wasn't ready to talk about these tonight because I just wanted to talk about the result, but I will mention something that a couple of you were hinting at, is that although he didn't want Spence, he didn't want Udogie, they're not his signings. They're signings that have been brought in and readied for when we bring Pochettino back. And I was talking to somebody else tonight, the Arsenal fan, and he was asking, the Arsenal fan that I was saying at my rehearsal, he was asking questions about how I feel about Conte, and I'm not going to say my thoughts have completely changed about the Conte situation, but there's a lot of hate out there obviously for Daniel Levy, and there were some great comments made about Daniel Levy using the club, using the money from the club to invest into property which Tottenham own, and it builds us financially, which yes, is true, he does do that. Then I had a little moment where, because some people had said that he's bringing in these players that Conte doesn't necessarily want, the ones for the future, ready for Poch to come in with these youngsters to help kick the squad on, I did wonder for a second, has Levy put himself in a situation where he knows Conte's an amazing manager, wants to back him, but at the same time he's got this nervousness because Conte's not afraid to walk away from a club if he doesn't get what he wants, and that can happen at any moment. Like, he's a very emotional person. Emotional people tend to be a bit irrational, make irrational decisions, and, you know, can walk away at any minute. So there is I'm kind of doing a devil's advocate bit here, where Daniel Levy may be trying to back Conte. We saw that. He allowed him to get Perisic. I know it was on a free, so less risk. He got rid of the players that he wanted him to get rid of. Like, he sent them out on loan, and Ndombele and Lo Celso, they were players that he said that he didn't want to use. He also got rid of Bergwijn, somebody that I know Conte liked, but knew he wasn't going to play enough to keep around. But I'm just wondering, the Spence and Udogie signings, are they his insurance policy? That, honestly, I'm proper playing devil's advocate here, because none of us really know what's going on in Conte's head or Daniel Levy's. As I said before, we don't actually get to see what really happens inside in the conversations. Daniel Levy's not a stupid man. So there is a possibility that he's making these other signings as backup just in case Conte decides to leave. And ultimately, there is a risk that him making these signings could push Conte to leave. There is that possibility. But being a businessman, and a lot of you have alluded to the business side of Daniel Levy, which I get. So maybe the businessman in him, he's kind of tried to apply that to football and been like, look, I need to have a backup plan just in case. And which is interesting, because when we look at Conte tactically, we very much know Conte doesn't really have a backup plan. He doesn't do that. He has his way of playing, and that's pretty much it, unless he really has to change. And that's only if the season is almost turning for him, like he did it at Inter Milan. The season wasn't really going their way. He had to change things, brought in Christian Eriksen, changed the formation, the style of play, and that changed their season round. We haven't seen that at Tottenham yet, because he hasn't had to change things too much, because he's still trying to build. So I am just wondering, has Daniel Levy used this as an opportunity to be like, look, there have been moments where Conte's had press conferences like last season where it looked like early on in his Spurs career he was thinking about going. And a couple of the press conferences have kind of alluded to, if you don't keep me happy, you don't give me what I want, I will go. So maybe there's that side of it as well. I know a lot of you out there will very much be screaming at me right now going, no, Daniel Levy and ENIC are the problem and blah, blah, blah. Or there'll be the other side of you lot that are like, Conte's the problem, he's too set in his ways. But look, I'm just saying that there is other ways of looking at it. And part of my job, I suppose, as somebody that talks to you about Spurs, yes, I will have my opinions on it, but also I think it's only sensible to look at all the different sides of things. So there's a bit more of a possibility there for some of you. But ultimately, you're going to make your minds up, and I respect that completely. We are all entitled to our own opinions on this. We're fans of the club. Some people, you've been around a lot longer than me, so therefore you've been fans of this club a lot longer than me. I'm 34 years old at the end of the day. There's some of you that have had to watch this for years and years. There's some of you that will remember the beginning of ENIC and Daniel Levy at the club. So, you know, you've got more of an experience of it. I've got background knowledge, but I've not had to live through it. I mean, I've been alive the whole time, but you know, when you're a young kid, you don't really look at the owners and stuff. You're just obsessed with the players. You grow up finding role models and that. You don't look at the ins and outs. You just see the players and the results. So there's a lot of you out there that have lived with it a lot longer in terms of from a mature level and understanding. So I can only work off going back in time and doing research from stuff that had happened then. But on the flip side, you know, I suppose I have to give a balanced argument out there, because we don't know what's going on behind closed doors, because we're only shown so much. If we were shown everything that went on behind closed doors, there probably wouldn't be many Tottenham Hotspur supporters left. And in fact, a lot of people probably wouldn't support their clubs if they found out what really goes on behind closed doors. And that's the beauty of the game. But let's just flip it back to the fact that we've had a good result tonight. Hopefully that can kick on our season a little bit, knowing that we've managed to do this, albeit with an out of form Crystal Palace. But with a squad that is not our first team. So we've got first team players to come back in. Hopefully this is the result that helps our youngsters build a bit of confidence, and hopefully Conte will use these players a little bit more in games. You know, start with your best 11 by all means, but maybe he'll be a bit more confident to take off players with, say, half hour to go instead of 5 minutes at the end of a game, and bring in Papsar, Skip. Maybe we might see, if Spence doesn't go out on loan in January, we might see him and get a few more minutes. It was nice for White to come off the bench. Hopefully there'll be a bit more rotation because he's seen what these players can do and he'll trust them. But that is it for tonight. Thank you for sticking around for that. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave your comments below. Those of you that are Conte haters or Levy haters, Edict haters, please don't kill me for just trying to give you an alternative way of looking at it, because I know you've already made your minds up, all right? And I respect all your opinions. We don't know a right or wrong answer at the end of the day, but thanks for sticking around. It's been a good evening from a Spurs point of view. Happy to see Sonny with a smile on his face. We're going to see Harry Kane break a record this season, the biggest record at Spurs that he could break, and then after that he's on to trying to beat the all-time Premier League record of Alan Shearer's. So thanks for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said, leave your comments below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already, and don't forget to support it with a like. So until next time, guys, come on you Spurs.